everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today we are going to be talking about the Lost Pages event in Wizard101, everything you need to know about it and whether it's worth doing. Now if you didn't see, the Lost Pages event came out for both console and PC version yesterday, and it runs for a limited time. And during that time you will be able to do the event before it goes away once again, and then it'll probably take like another 6 months to a year before it comes back. Now before I get into this video, I do just want to say, for all of those who have asked me what's your Death Stitch, and like your Death Stitch looks really cool, this robe right here is the Dragon Rider's Assailing robe, which is actually dropped from this event. This event is one of the only ways to get the Dragon's Horde pack items, because the Dragon's Horde pack only comes back in the crown shop like maybe once a year, if that, usually not. So for those of you who have really wanted my Death Stitch in the past, keep in mind this event, for the limited time it's run, is pretty much the only way to actually get these robes. So without further ado, enough rambling, let's get into the video. Alright, so to start the Lost Pages event, you need to come to the Wizard City Library right here at least level 6 and start the quest, the Carpe Diem Society. Alright, so following along with the quest, once you actually finish this initial quest right here, which you can see I finished there, the second quest will pop up, and the second quest in this quest line is to defeat 10 of the Spellwrit Screamers, which are the Spellwrit version of the Scarlet Screamers. Now, I will say, once you actually finish that initial quest, the Carpe Diem Society, all 6 of the Lost Pages quests actually will appear at the same time in every world. You don't need to do them in order, and the reason why that is important is because the drops from the Lost Pages event are only dropped depending on what level you are. So for example, the initial Wizard City one, you need to be under level 20 to get the drops. For Krakatopia, you need to be under level 30. For Mushu, you need to be under level 50. For Celestia, you need to be under level 60. For Avalon, you need to be under level 80. And finally, for Azteca, it's level 80 and beyondwards. So if you are already a max level or like a level 100 plus and you want to actually do this event, you need to immediately go to the Azteca quest and start that one. Now, all 6 of the quests are basically exactly the same. They'll send you to fight 10 of the Spellwrit versions of the enemies that you can see right here, and they're not too hard. They're just like a slightly harder version of the mob that you're normally fighting. So for example, the hardest one, the Spellwrit Winged Tooths in Azteca, have about 5200 health, which isn't a ton. It is a bit for a mob, but it's not going to be that much more difficult than that. They'd have like 20% more health than the regular version of the enemy. Now once you defeat 10 of these, you will unlock the next part of the quest, which is to defeat part of the Carpe Diem Society. So for example, the Wizard City quest that I'm currently following along with, once I beat 10 of these Spellwrit Screamers for the next part of the quest, it will send you over to the kind of broken mirrors over here. Yeah, you can see one right here. And inside of that, there will be the boss that is part of the Carpe Diem Society. It is like a hypnotized wizard type boss. The first one, Kestrel Blackstorm, has 845 health and is a storm boss and doesn't really have any particular cheats. So defeating this boss will be pretty easy. The hardest one, to kind of like put it into perspective, the Azteca one has 19,305 health and is a fire boss. None of these bosses have cheats. They're not anything particularly challenging, but they are just a regular, slightly high health boss for the level you're at. Now, if you're doing this initial one like under level 20, so if you're like level 15 to 20, it's not going to be that bad. Obviously, an 800 health boss isn't anything too difficult. That is just like a croc level boss, and you should be able to pretty easily beat it. Now, real quickly, before I get into what the event drops and whether it's worth doing, I'm just going to tell you where to start each of the quests in all 6 of the worlds. So the Wizard City one, you start from Simeon in Ravenwood. The Krakatopia one, you start from Sergeant Major Talbot in the Oasis. The Mushu one, you start from Jun Zhao in the Jade Palace, which I believe is right by the Spiral Gate. Celestia, you start from Edith Benchley right in Celestia Base Camp. Avalon, you start from Sir Pike Delago, which is right in Caliburn. And finally, Azteca, you start from Pakal Red Mask. Now, nothing is particularly out of the way to start those 6 quests. As I mentioned earlier, once you finish the initial Carpe Diem Society quest that you saw me do, you will unlock all 6 of those right away, and you can go do them in any order. So if you're a max level, you should probably immediately go to Azteca and do that one so that you can actually get the drops. Now, as you can see here, I'm back on my death. Doing each of these will give you a unique badge for them, and they are some pretty cool badges. So if you look, like the initial one is the Author of Virtue's Poetry, you get the Quiet Writer of Epitaphs, Scribe of the Howling Wind, Bleak Master of the Pen. There's some cool badges here. So with that being said, let's get into the actual drops of this event beyond the badges and everything that you can get from this event. Now, the Lost Pages event basically is a way to get the Dragon's Horde Pack gear in the modern age, because the Dragon's Horde Pack hasn't actively been in the crown shop for over a decade now. It comes back every once in a while, but it usually only comes around like Christmas when you do like a Pack-a-Palooza, and it only stays for, you know, a week or two before it inevitably goes away again. And the Dragon's Horde Pack isn't anything particularly insane, but it does give, as I mentioned earlier in this video, these robes. It has this one right here, which is the black version. It also has a white and blue version and an orange version. So they all look pretty dang cool. So if you want this gear for stitching, you could purely get it for that reason. However, in terms of actual stats, this gear isn't really anything to speak of at any of the levels. I would say that really the only time you'd even want to equip this gear just normally beyond stitching would be if you got like the level 10 version or maybe the level 20 version. Once you start getting to like the level 30 onward version, the gear that you're going to be able to farm from like Zeus or Malistaire or Waterworks, for example, is all going to be much better than this gear anyway. So in terms of stats, it's really nothing to speak of. Farming it for that reason, I personally wouldn't, but if you want to stitch, there is that. Now, on top of that, there is another reason to mention this gear, and that's the fact that the Dragon Rider's utility gear actually does give energy. Now, it's not a good energy set. Don't twist my words here. While this gear does give energy, you would be much better off going for a different energy set of gear, or even just generally getting things like the Aphrodite theme at level 100 probably gives more energy than this gear does in total. The gear gives an amount of energy. It's an amount. It's not like anything crazy good, but it does give that. So at the bare minimum, if for some reason you wanted this event for the energy gear, this is an option. Now, in terms of drops, I would say that the only real other drop to speak of here is probably the Bone Dragon mount. Now, if you've never seen it before, it is a very, very cool mount. It is a skeletal dragon type of mount. It's just a dragon that is bones, as implied by the Bone Dragon. Now, again, the only way to get this mount is from this event. It only comes around once every 6 months to a year. So if you've wanted this mount in the past, or if you haven't seen it up until now and you're like, wow, that looks pretty dang sick, then this is the only way to get this mount. All right, now that we've gone over all of the drops, let's get into the final section of this video. Is the Lost Pages event worth doing in Wizard101? Now, before I even get into anything, I just want to say the drop rate of this event is abysmally low, like very, very low, to the point where if we could see the drop rate, it would probably be like 1 in 400 plus for most of these drops. That is how bad it is. To put it into perspective, when I specifically went out of my way to do this event, it took over 100 runs of the final Azteca boss for me to actually even get the robe itself. That's not even mentioning the fact that the Bone Dragon mount is probably going to take many more runs to get than most of this gear. In the past, on the different videos I've made of this, I've had people mention in the comments that it took them 400 plus runs to get this Bone Dragon mount. So if you're wanting to do this for a quick and easy mount or a nice set of gear that you can just do a few runs for and get some of the gear, this is not the event for you. It is absolutely not worth it in terms of how good the drops are or how difficult the drops are. Really, the only reason to do this event is if you really, really want the drops. Like if you really want this robe that I'm wearing, or you really want the Bone Dragon. Otherwise, no, it's not worth doing. Now, in terms of the other main reason, I mentioned the badges earlier. That's pretty much the only other thing you're getting out of this event. This event doesn't give XP, it doesn't give mega snacks, it doesn't give anything like super cool. It is basically just this. So in terms of worth it, really, no. What I would say for this event is do all of the quests one time, beat the event to its full extent, and then decide from there, do I want to farm the gear? Do I not want to farm the gear? I think that's the best thing to do with these limited time events is do them once so that you say that you completed them, and if you got any rewards while doing them, good. If you didn't, well, you can decide whether to farm it or not. That's what I'd recommend. Do it at least once and then go from there. All right, for the very final section of this video, for the people who have stuck around and decided, yes, I do actually want to farm the gear itself, I just real quick want to talk about how to farm these bosses. It's nothing too complicated. So personally, I would say there are two main ways to do this. If you are a max level, you can do the Azteca boss, or if you want to, you can create a new wizard, get them up to the level 15 to 20 range, and then farm the initial boss in Wizard City. Now, there are pros and cons to doing both. For actually farming the initial boss in Wizard City, the pros are the fact that it is a much easier boss, and it's probably going to take you less time than the final boss's runs. The boss only has 800 health, and even at level 15 and 20, that is not a lot of health. So you're going to be finding finding it much easier to farm that boss than you're going to be farming this final Azteca boss. Now, the cons of that is obviously that you need to create a new wizard and they need to stay around that level to farm that event. If you can find people to help you do the dungeon, do it in team up, or even just go through it naturally, it's probably going to be easier to make that low level and go through it that way. For those of you who want to do the Azteca one, what I would heavily recommend for this one is if you can find a team of people to run it, you can probably very easily get through this dungeon. Now, it is a tower, so the first level has like 4 spell rate enemies, and then the final tower has the boss. If you can get a set of 4 like pretty high levels, or even if you just get like 4 level 80 to 90s to do this, it's not going to be that challenging, and you can probably one round it for most people. If you create a group, you're always going to go first, and then you can spam AoEs for the mob fight, and then finally for the boss fight, just like triple feint the boss into like a 4 or 5 pip AoE, or even a 7 pip AoE if you want to 2-round it. It's going to be really easy to do. That's basically what I did. I duoed it with myself. I dual boxed my way through it, and I double feinted into a scarecrow and very easily took down the final boss. So those are the 2 main ways to farm it, and pretty much that's it for this video. Again, I'll leave it up to you whether you decide to create a new wizard and farm the low level one, or do the max level one on a max level wizard. Again, just reiterating the fact, the drop rate of this dungeon is very low to an abysmal point. Like, it is bad. I did, again, 100 plus runs for a robe, a single piece of gear. I don't even think I got any other pieces of gear. I might have gotten one other robe, and it was the white and blue one, but I did not get any hats. I didn't get any boots. I did not get the bone dragon. It is not a good dungeon in that regard. So otherwise, that's pretty much it for today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below, and let me know if you do decide to farm this, how many runs it took you to get any of these pieces of gear and or the bone dragon mount, because I am quite interested. But otherwise, that's it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.